Once upon a time in a fabulous land, where morals are sparkly and fables are grand. Gaze-up's tales with a wise man's twist, serving wisdom on a glittery dish.
Hello, and welcome to Gaze-up's Fables, your weekly dose of classic tales with a modern gay message. I'm Matt, your modern day and gay fabulist. That's what they call people who tell fables. It's perfect. This is the very first episode of my very first YouTube channel. So to introduce myself, I've had a diverse career from education to clinical psychology and psychiatry to now research, and I'd have what I would call a full life even by my late 30s. I've moved countries, I've lost my job, I've almost been deported, I've been married, divorced, I almost died. And most importantly, through it all, I have been gay. As a kid, I always loved Aesop's fables. For those who don't know, Aesop was an ancient Greek storyteller who has a whole bunch of fables attributed to him. They were always stories, usually with animals and things like this, that always ended with a moral message that you were supposed to take and implement in your life. Side note, I was once dating this Greek guy who made me sit down and watch the opening ceremony of the 2004 Athens Olympics. He was so excited, and he was like, oh, they're coming up to a montage of like Greek contributions to society. And I was like, okay, so there's democracy and philosophy and feta, and then after sort of, 2000 BC, just what scene missing? I had an illustrated copy of Aesop's Fables as a child, and it was full of woodland creatures, Roman and Greek gods, and most importantly, morals. But unlike religion, these morals related more to how you should behave and how you should be treated and treat others. But there's something that we should really discuss, and that is in these classic Aesop's Fables, a lot of the animals in question are heterosexual. So I had to ask, do these have any relevance for the modern gay man? So I've updated them and written a few originals. Each week I'm going to read out a fable of my own adaptation or creation, and then have a discussion about the key themes, the inspiration behind it, my observations of gay life, and any relevance to me and the people I know and love. This is not therapy. Therapy is a sustained engagement with a professional. This is more food for thought. Think of it as a little disruption in your gay emotional spiral each week. You may be able to reflect, you might learn something or confirm something you already knew, and at a minimum, you'll be exposed to homoerotic woodland creatures. Today, I'm reading you the story of the little gay fox who found it hard to love. Oh! There once was a little gay fox. You could tell the little fox was gay because of his curly whiskers. The other foxes made fun of him for his fabulous whiskers. He also used to howl in a really f***y way, so understandably they made fun of him for that too. His parents, Mr. Fox and Mrs. Fox, would make excuses for him when talking to the mum foxes at pup prep. Foxes grow into their curls later and later these days. Oh, his grandfather didn't have straight curls at his age, and he once ate a whole sheep in one bite. The little gay fox grew to hate his curly whiskers. He'd often sit by the local pond in the evenings, lamenting his curly whiskers and willing them to straighten. He tried so hard to please Mr. and Mrs. Fox, but no matter what he did, he would look at them and they would stare back at him with disappointment in their large, myopic eyes. Eventually, the little gay fox moved out of the forest and to the big city. But the animals in the big city were different to the animals in the forest. There were other foxes with curly whiskers. There were hares with bent ears. There were boars with bejeweled tusks. And there were hedgehogs with acorns up their arse. Over time, he began to appreciate his curled whiskers. He would even, on occasion, use a curling twig to make them even curlier. He had never felt more like himself or more accepted. Aww. One night while hunting, the fox saw the most ravishing badger. Sturdy, stout, glossy of coat. This was the badger of his dreams. He approached slyly and shyly. He was living his best little gay life in the city, but the little gay fox was still cautious at heart. The badger saw him approaching and obliged. He pretended he didn't know the little gay fox was there, and he sat there innocently munching the grass or whatever the fuck badgers eat. He allowed the little gay fox to sneak up behind him and pounce. They rolled in the grass, pretending to be in a battle of life and death, predator and prey. The little gay fox pinned the badger to the ground and felt such a rush of exhilaration unlike anything he had ever experienced before. He went home to his new-built one-bedroom apartment and slept the sleep of anticipation for the next night. And this became a regular nocturnal activity. Every night they would play out this game, frolicking in the meadow before collapsing in an exhausted heap, intertwined with one another in the badger's den. But something wasn't right. Every night the badger became less and less convincing that he didn't know the little gay fox was there. Oh no. The little gay fox was getting the ick. It turns out this little gay fox didn't know how to love or be loved. Oh, sad. When the badger was acting like he didn't know the little gay fox was there, the fox felt a surge of excitement and anticipation. His predatory instincts would kick in and he would relish in the chase. This wasn't like catching bunnies. This was a challenge. However, when the badger slowed down and allowed himself to be caught, the little gay fox didn't want him anymore. The badger started to get very confused by this cat and mouse game. He was also confused by the sudden reference to non-woodland critters at this late stage in the story. Little gay fox was also confused. The badger was everything he always thought he wanted. When he was lying by the pond lamenting his curly whiskers, all he could think about was one day being accepted by a badger, or perhaps an androgynous falcon. But the badger did accept him. So why wasn't he happy? Maybe I just don't want that kind of commitment, the little gay fox would tell himself. Maybe I'm not a relationship little gay fox. The little gay fox started ignoring the badger. Of course, he felt immediately relieved. He didn't have to worry about those feelings of desperation, irritation, or hope. But once the relief wore off, he felt hollow. He yearned to snuggle up on a frosty Sunday morning with the badger in the badger's den and read the paper and have a coffee and look after their pet chinchilla. I don't quite get the hierarchies of the animal kingdom at this point. You're just not a relationship fox, he kept telling himself. But even he didn't believe himself after a while. And no matter how much he curled his whiskers, he couldn't get that memory of comfort, closeness, and connection out of his little gay brain. After a while, he realized he's actually just not very good at relationships, interspecial or otherwise. He's actually terrible at them. But does that mean he doesn't want one? I think it's pretty obvious what the moral of this fable is. Gays find it hard to love because gays are unworthy of love. Thank you. But if we go a deeper dive on this fable, I guess we can find other meanings. The one that really stuck out to me, the person who wrote it, was that wanting something and not knowing how to get it is not the same as not wanting something. The trick is to figure out how to get it, not to tell yourself you didn't want it in the first place. This fable is based on a classic Aesop fable, The Fox and the Grapes. In this fable, a fox, possibly gay, historians said there's some mixed evidence on this one, was mincing down a country lane when he spied the most delicious, juicy, hanging grapes. He smacked his possibly gay lips together and he thought, those are going to be my lunch grapes. He jumped and realized he was not able to reach them that way. He jumped again and still fell short. He leapt onto the fence and then propelled himself into the air but still couldn't reach them. Defeated, dejected, delusional, the little fox walked off saying, do you know what? I think those grapes were probably sour anyway. And that's where we get the expression sour grapes from. What we're also witnessing here is a psychological phenomenon known as cognitive dissonance. For those who haven't heard the term before, cognitive dissonance refers to the discomfort we feel when our actions and our beliefs don't align, or even clash. There are some examples of this from our lives. In school, if we got a bad grade, we'd blame the teacher. We held a belief that we were a good student, and then the action, the bad grade, really challenged that belief. And so in order to alleviate any discomfort, we blame the teacher. When our sporting team, your sporting team, I don't have a sporting team. When the sporting team loses, we blame the weather. We blame the fact that it was a home game. We blame blood doping, whatever it is. And when we pursue relationships that are bad for us, or we find ourselves being explosive and irrational in relationships and being very sensitive to perceived rejection, abandonment, neglect, feeling overlooked, it challenges our core belief that we are worthy, that we are rational people, and that we are romantic even. For some of us, the way we relieve that discomfort is to tell ourselves, maybe we just don't want a relationship. But it may not be that we don't want a relationship, it may just be that we're really shit at them. Anyone and everyone experiences cognitive dissonance, even straight people. But to be honest, they have their own YouTube channels, and I'm actually just not even that interested in their experiences. With gay men, the dissonance can be even greater. We've grown up with an intense mixture of heterosexual relationship ideals that we have probably inevitably on some level internalized. We've also grown up with an incredible sensitivity to rejection, from either being rejected for our sexuality or being worried about being rejected for our sexuality for 15 goddamn years. Because of this, we're primed to sense rejection, and we either run at the first sniff of it, or else we stay and cling in there, and we actually bring about our own rejection. Personally, like many other people I've spoken to, I like people who keep me at arm's length and really make me work for it. I really get off on being forced to prove my worth. The more obvious healthy thing to do would be to just choose someone who already views me as worthy, but this dumb bitch doesn't work like that. I was once talking to an older gay gentleman who had sworn off relationships. He had found that whenever he was in one, he would be super angry, rage-filled, jealous, passionate, manipulative, dismissive of his partners. And for him, he found that incredibly uncomfortable. He wasn't like that in the rest of his life. He was really gentle, had lots of friends, always got along. But for some reason in a relationship, this side came out. He took responsibility for it and just told himself, do you know what? I don't think relationships are for me. I was walking through Clapham Common the other day, and the sunshine's been lovely, hasn't it? And we were talking about the difference between single triggers and relationship triggers, or insecurities, however you want to sort of coin it. And that there's a huge difference between the insecurities you feel when you're in your single life and when you're in your relationship life. I've spoken to people before and they sort of view it like there's this linear relationship. They think, oh, I'll just work on myself and then finally I'll be ready for a relationship. But in my experience, the types of insecurities that you're experiencing are different when you're single and when you're in a relationship. When you're single, it's things like overcoming, I don't know, imposter syndrome at work, and learning how to communicate with your friends, and learning how to appreciate your own time and to sit with your own company. And then suddenly you're in a relationship and you feel judged all the time, you feel criticized all the time. You can't hide away and hibernate for 3 days when you're in a bad mood. You're on display, people are constantly questioning your communication. And it's not so much better or worse, just a different set of issues. So when you're single, you don't have people in your life questioning your choices or your passions or your communication style. Or maybe you do. You should work on that. Recently, I came to the conclusion that I don't want a relationship. I either found myself pursuing inappropriate people, by which I mean the only dates I was excited about were the ones where they kept me at arm's length. Everyone else was a complete bore. Or I found myself getting super irritated and giving constructive feedback to sort of alleviate my irritation for the people I was spending time with. I took this to mean that I don't want a relationship. I realized I really like dating. I really like the flirtation. I like the wine. I like having a walk by the river. I love that will they, won't they kiss sort of vibe. But I don't want that person waking up next to me. So I tell myself I don't want a relationship, where maybe what I should be saying to myself is I'm really bad at them, or I don't know how to have a good one. But acknowledging that does sound like a lot of work. Ooh. The counterpoint to the cognitive dissonance discussion is that for some people, maybe they've just grown beyond these traditional ideas of a relationship or the idea of having one at all. Maybe they believe in being self-sufficient or having your needs met outside of romantic relationships. Maybe they believe that traditional romantic relationships are things that are taught to us by society for different purposes and have no real meaning in their lives. So sometimes it's cognitive dissonance, and sometimes maybe people are just onto something. What did you think of this topic? Please do let me know in the comments, and subscribe if this content's of any interest to you at all. I'm going to be posting a new Fable every single week with a new discussion, sometimes with guest stars, sometimes on my own, sometimes about my own experiences, sometimes borrowing from the experiences of others, but most importantly, always with sexy gay animals. Have a moral week.
Days of Fables, it's the tea, it's the show. Lessons in love with a fabulous glow. Quick wit, sharp, he'll strut the moral road. Gather round, hun, let the gay story unfold.